right, good afternoon. Thank you for joining our webinar on residency in ECOS. We aim to cover everything thoroughly, but we do understand you may have additional questions. So please record your questions in the chat, and we'll respond through FAQs or personal communication after the webinar. The webinar is being recorded, and the recording, along with related FAQs, will be available in the EPP training events and material sections on the Program Provider Resources page on the TEA website. This presentation is applicable to EPPs who have completed the application process through TEA and have been approved by the SBEC to offer the Texas Teacher Residency Preparation route, which I will refer to as residency for the remaining of this presentation today. Through the application and approval process, your EPP has demonstrated they understand the residency requirements and have structures in place for candidates to meet the residency requirements that will qualify them to receive the enhanced standard certificate. So we will not be covering residency rules during the presentation. I've listed key elements of the residency requirements here because the ECOS updates we are about to review are based on and aligned with the residency requirements in Texas Administrative Code. Some of the TAC aligned ECOS updates we will discuss today are around, excuse me, someone else is trying to join. Some of the TAC aligned ECOS updates we will discuss today are around identifying residency as a defined route, capturing evidence of requirements met during the clinical experience, and validating issuance of the enhanced standard certificate against requirements met. Support for reporting activity around the residency route also meets ACEP requirements. As a reminder, ACEP is a term for the Accountability System for Educator Preparation Programs. Texas Education Code, TEC, and Texas Administrative Code, TAC, require educator preparation programs, EPPs, to support specific information and data to the state annually, which we will refer to annual ACEP reporting or state reporting. The data reported by EPPs is used for a variety of purposes. Among those is to determine annual accreditation status for EPPs. Note that ACEP also happens to be the name of one of the drop-down menus in the ECOS for Entities green screen. Some of the residency updates we will review today are under that ACEP menu. If you are new to the EPP and you want to learn more about ACEP and the related calculations, there is an ACEP manual published as a figure in TAC 229.1C that you may want to review. Remember that each program within the EPP contributes to the data collected each year, and this includes residency programs. So effective communication across the programs is vital for efficient and accurate data collection and reporting processes for the EPP. As we cover this information, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. We will include them in an FAQ to be posted soon. Again, the webinar is being recorded, and the recording, along with related FAQs, will be available in the EPP training events and materials section on the Program Provider Resources page on the TEA website. Let's review some relevant terms that I'll be referencing throughout this presentation. First, as we all know, EPP is the Educator Preparation Program, which you are here representing today. ECOS is the Educator Certification Online System, which houses the educator data statewide, including the data reported by EPPs. The focus of this presentation today is the updates that have been made in ECOS to support residency routes. TEA ID is the identification number assigned to candidates and the educators that it is used for certification and the exam registration process. The term clinical experience broadly describes clinical teaching, internship, practicum, and effective 9/1/2024 includes the SBEC approved residency. Data reporter is a role that may be referenced today. If an EPP has a person whose function is specifically to report data each year, that person would be considered the data reporter. Whoever completes the state reporting for your EPP must have the ACEP update access in ECOS for entities, and this includes reporting residency data since some of the updates are under the ACEP drop-down menu. If you have new staff that need assistance establishing the correct accesses in ECOS entities, please have them reach out to your assigned specialist at TEA for that assistance. And finally, when we refer to residency, we're referring to the SBEC approved route that results in enhanced standard certificate. Our goals for this presentation are first, to provide an overview for the SBEC approved residency programs on how to process your residency candidates in ECOS and identify some resources available to you for help should you need it. Additionally, I'll let you know about some ECOS updates that are forthcoming in the next few months. This is also an opportunity for you to gather your thoughts and questions around residency data reporting and then submit those questions to TEA so we can provide clarity. We will publish responses for the good of the group. Please ask and we will respond. While most screens and functions in ECOS have not been changed, you will see residency-related additions throughout the screens. The presentation today will highlight these new features. You will see that there is a new root code for residency and new cert license IDs for the teaching certificates offered in the residency route, which are integrated throughout existing screens, including admissions, finisher records list, test approval, clinical experience records, and observations. Additionally, we've updated the clinical experience screens to capture residency data and have added new screens to capture performance gates data. The residency updates in ECOS are not complete, but are on target to be completed. We will review the remaining expected updates later in this presentation. Now let's move into ECOS and view the updates related to residency reporting. Today, we are welcoming Awesome Educator as a candidate recently admitted to your EPP participating in the SBEC approved residency program. Awesome Educator may be a familiar candidate to you, as many of the screens you will see today are also in the updated technical manual. As with all new candidates admitted to EPPs, Awesome needs an admission record created in ECOS. The process of creating the admission record has not changed, and the screens have not changed. The record may be created through the manual or upload process, which is current functionality. The residency route has been integrated into the admission screens. Just as a reminder, there is a requirement in 19 TAC 227.17 that the admission record must be created within 7 calendar days of the formal admission date for each candidate. Please note, if your candidate is already admitted into your EPP and is later moved into the residency route, you would not create a new admission record for that candidate. We will address that transition later. There are 3 screens under the ACEP menu that EPPs use to create and track admission records for candidates. You'll find more information about how to navigate and use these screens in the data reporting manual. The screenshot on this slide depicts an admission report you can access via Maintain Admissions. Select the 2024-2025 reporting year to generate the report of all admission records created for 24-25. You can also export the report in an Excel file that will allow you to sort. Your residency candidates will appear on this report. Note that admission records cannot be deleted by an EPP, which is existing functionality. If you create the record in error, send a written request to your assigned specialist via the TEA help desk, directing us to remove the record for you. The admission record should not be deleted or changed if the candidate leaves the EPP after admission or changes certification categories. The candidate's admission in the original category remains unchanged despite any subsequent changes to the candidate's status or certificate area. I'm using the manual option to create a admission record for Awesome. The upload option is available as well for those who want to use it. Notice that the new residency route has a code of 47. This will be the route code you will select when created admission records for candidates who are admitted into the SBEC approved residency route. When selecting the certificate, please make sure the certificate area is coded with the RSD at the end of the certificate. Note that only those certificates identified in your SBEC approval will be available for the residency route. Please be mindful that a new Cert License ID has been generated for the RSD coded certificates. So if you are accustomed to selecting, let's say, Cert ID 1990 for undergraduate candidates pursuing core subjects EC through 6, you will now select Cert License ID 2340 for residency route candidates pursuing core subjects EC through 6. Note that Cert ID codes are unique to the route, meaning the core subjects EC through 6 Cert ID code is different for the undergraduate, the postbac, alternative, and residency routes. This is existing functionality, the residency route being the new addition. I'm going to complete Awesome's admission record as usual by populating the information about admission date, GPA data, and data relating to subject-specific credit hours. This is also existing functionality, which has not been changed. Candidate enrollment data must be reported by the EPP. This reporting requirement has been in effect since 2009-2010 reporting year. Before that, only finishers were reported. Candidate enrollment records are reported on the finisher records list in ECOS. The finisher records list is one list that can be sorted for all candidates or by enrollment status of other enrolled or finisher. You can also display those candidates removed from the list. For your convenience, when you create the admission record for a candidate, ECOS creates the enrollment record for the candidate for each of the certificates included in the admission record. The enrollment status is automatically populated as other enrolled. The admission record also creates a test approval record for the candidate. The candidate's status will be marked as eligible because the EPP decides when the candidate is ready for testing and when to approve it. You'll note that in both the finisher records list and the test approval screens, the residency route will be reflected if that is the route you identified at admission. It is always good practice to verify records were created after the admission was created. One way to do this is to click on Maintain Finishers, then use the status filter set to Other Enrolled or All in the current reporting year. Notice Awesome's enrollment record is present, and note that the record reflects the RSD or residency route. If a candidate was admitted into a different route and then transfers into the residency route, you would update the route here. You can do so by pulling up the student maintenance screen via student search, adding the new residency certificate, and then removing the previous certificate. Note again that only the certificates that are approved for your residency program may be added. You can also verify that test approvals were created by the admission record by searching in your test menu. Use Search Maintain Candidates under the Test Approval drop-down menu to find the candidate and view the test approvals. This is existing functionality and is not new. If you need to add a test approval, you can still do so using the existing functionality. I wanted you to see that the RSD 47 route is now an option in this screen as well. As a reminder, candidates completing SBEC approved residency programs will still need to take their content exams, STR exam if applicable, and any supplemental exams as applicable, but they will not be required to take the ED TPA or PPR exam. Clinical experience records enable the EPP to efficiently record essential information regarding clinical experiences, which now includes residency for those approved by the SBEC to offer that route. EPPs are obligated to monitor and document activities around clinical experiences. Note that candidates must have an admission record and must have an enrollment record on the finisher records list before the EPP can create the clinical experience records for the candidates. Additionally, candidates must have a clinical experience record for an EPP to be able to report the related observations. This is all existing functionality that was not changed. Any candidate in a program within the EPP who completes a clinical experience or who is exempt from a clinical experience must have a clinical experience record. There are two screens under the ACEP drop-down menu in ECOS that allow the EPP to create and manage clinical experience records. EPPs can create a clinical experience record for an individual candidate manually via the clinical experience records option, or for one or more candidates using the bulk upload via the Upload Clinical Experience option. This was existing functionality, and it is not new. Now, Awesome is ready to begin the full year residency, so I will create the clinical experience record using the manual option. To do so, I search on Awesome's TEA ID number, and then selected the Add Record. To report the SBEC approved residency, I used the 750 hours SBEC approved residency model for the clinical teaching or CLIN assignment type. I also selected Awesome's certificate area as the RSD route option. I can verify the record by using the clinical experience records option to generate and view a report of all clinical experience records created for that year. Awesome should have a record there now that I've created it. Note, there is limited editing and deleting allowed for clinical experience records. For example, once a record is tied to an observation, the EPP cannot edit or delete that record. In the interest of accurate data, if an EPP staff need assistance with correcting these records, please reach out to the assigned specialist at TEA. Due to recent enhancements in our admin screens, we may be able to make a correction for you. Data around field supervision is another important area that you must report, including for candidates completing the residency. EPPs must report all formal observations conducted by field supervisors. The number of formal observations for the candidate must meet or exceed the minimum number of required observations for the type of clinical experience in which the candidate participated. The observation requirements are existing and are also applicable to residency candidates. It is very important that EPPs report all observations for all candidates who are in any part of a clinical experience during a reporting year, since observation completion is part of Indicator 4 of the EPP accountability indicators identified in 19 TAC 229.4. Now, here's an important note. Informal observations conducted by the field supervisor and any observations conducted by cooperating teachers, mentors, campus supervisors, site supervisors, or host teachers are not reported in ECOS. Retain the evidence of informal observations and coaching conducted by field supervisors and campus personnel in candidates' records as part of the completion documents required to be kept per the records retention requirement in 19 TAC 228.13H. This chart is linked in the observation upload screen and is meant to be a quick reference only. The actual requirements for observations are in 19 TAC Chapter 228, Subchapter F, related to support for candidates during required clinical experiences. This chart provides an example of the number and format of formal observations that you would be expected to report in ACIP based on the clinical experience in which the candidate is engaged. Note the second column. If the EPP chooses to conduct formal observations in person only, the minimum number of formal observations required for candidates seeking one certificate category is listed. However, if the EPP chooses to conduct formal observations in person and virtually, the combinations of minimum formal observations allowed per setting is listed in column 3. It is very important to note that all formal observations of residency candidates must be in person. If your EPP allows virtual observations to be conducted for the teacher candidates in other routes besides residency, TEA strongly encourages you to communicate with field supervisors about the rules around in-person versus virtual observation requirements, including the in-person requirement for residency candidates. For all programs, and not just residency, a field has been added to the screen used to create observation records manually. This enhancement requires you to choose the correct experience model. This must be entered to save an observation manually. This enhancement was added to the manual screen for cases where a candidate has multiple experience records. EPPs were reporting trouble with the entering data when multiple experience records existed with common dates. This enhancement to the manual screen ensures EPPs can correctly assign the observation to the correct clinical experience record. I've selected the 750 hours option for Awesome because Awesome is a candidate in the residency route. Note, the experience model is not required in the upload screen though. If you have candidates with overlapping dates on clinical experiences, such as may happen for extensions, you will use the manual screen to enter observations for that candidate. Thus far, we've reviewed ECOS screens that are existing and have been enhanced with the residency route. Now we'll look at a new screen that's been created specifically for the residency route. This is the interface where EPPs will enter evidence that candidates met each performance gate requirement. There are two new screen options under the ACEP drop-down menu for managing performance gates data. The performance gates option allows you to view a report of all candidates and their progression through performance gates and allows you to manually create a performance gate record by searching on the TEA ID number of the candidate. Additionally, there's an upload screen that allows for bulk upload of the performance gate data for multiple candidates. This screenshot shows that the functionality of the screen in the performance gates option is similar to functionality in the clinical experience record option. We hope you find this to be a user-friendly approach to the ECOS enhancements. Awesome Educator has now progressed through that first performance gate, so I need to record it in ECOS. In the previous slide, I entered Awesome's TEA ID number to find the record, and then when no record was found, I clicked on Add Record to generate this manual data entry screen. Note that performance gates are recorded as the date the proficient performance level measure in each dimension was met, and that there must be a total of 4 to complete this portion of the candidate's record. There is no need to upload the actual performance gate document, such as the POP cycle or dispositional survey. The EPP is only attesting to the candidate demonstrating proficiency and the date. No actual documents are being uploaded. There are some validations built in to help keep your data clean. First, you must enter Performance Gate 1 to be able to generate a record. Second, each Performance Gate record must reflect a date that is sequentially later than the date in the previous Performance Gate. This structure is based on the requirement that Performance Gates reflect a progression of mastery throughout the experience. And third, performance gate dates must be within the assignment begin and end dates. This validation is similar to observation validation, which requires observation dates to be within assignment begin and end dates. Entering and saving Awesome's first performance gate generated a record that I can now find by searching Awesome's TEA ID. From this screen, I can use the pencil icon to add performance gates manually as they are met. And I can review all performance gates on this record to verify they are complete. As with other options in ECOS, I can always add the performance gate data via upload as well. When Awesome meets the next performance gate, I'll simply add that date and save the record. I can do this via upload as well. All 4 performance gates must be met before Awesome can be considered a finisher in the residency route. So today we've reviewed the updates and new screens for processing residency candidates through admissions, enrollment records, test approvals, clinical experiences, and related observations and performance gates. We have not reviewed the screens for recommending enhanced certificate, standard certificate, because those updates to ECOS are still in process. They're expected after the first of the year. We will post a notice in the EPP newsletter when those screens have been implemented in ECOS. There will also be related updates added to the technical manual on using those screens. However, functionality will be very similar to that you are already using in the standard certificate recommendation screen. I wanted to mention this now because there are some aspects of the enhanced standard certificate recommendation that are new, and you do need to know what those are now to be prepared for them when you eventually recommend your enhanced standards. As in TAC, issuance of the Enhanced Standard Certificate, is based on candidates meeting specific criteria in the residency route. The validations built into the Enhanced Standard recommendation screens are based on those requirements. When you recommend the Enhanced Standard, the candidate must be identified as a finisher on the finisher records list in the residency route, and the candidate must have all 4 performance gates recorded in ECOS. If these 2 requirements are not met, when you recommend the certificate, you will get an error message, and the certificate will not issue. Issuance will also require a degree to be entered, which is not new functionality, and currently exists in the certificate recommendation screens. It is important for you to know this now so you can begin with the end in mind regarding your record keeping. As we always recommend, enter your data as you go throughout the year. This will be important for trouble-free recommendations of enhanced standard certificates for your residency candidates. We hope that you find this presentation to be helpful. There are other resources available to you if you need. The Data Reporting Manual remains the best resource for EPP staff with detail and instruction around required reporting, including useful examples and screenshots throughout the manual. You will find the most recent version of the Data Reporting Manual posted in the Forms and Documents section on the Program Provider Resources webpage on the TEA website. As new functionality is introduced, the manual is updated accordingly. Additionally, the weekly newsletter will contain reminders and information related to ECOS updates, as well as contact information for various TEA staff who can assist you. To subscribe to the newsletter, use the link at the top of the most recent archived copy of the newsletter. The archives are also on the Program Provider Resources page. For the most efficient service, when you need assistance related to ECOS functions, please use the TEA Help Desk system. This process is prepared because the Help Desk is monitored by multiple TEA staff, ensuring your submission won't get lost and will get routed to the correct person who can best address your questions or problems. Additionally, the Help Desk is secure, so if you must send files that contain candidate identifiers, you can do so with confidence. A reminder that you've heard before, that if you need to submit a file for review, please help us by labeling your files with a short, specific names. Submit forms and inquiries to the data reporting tile. No need to notify your educational specialist separately, as the help desk system will automatically send us an email when your ticket arrives. Now that your EPP has been approved by the SBEC to offer the residency route, you will see the enhancements discussed today when ECOS is updated soon. You will receive notification that the residency fields have been installed for your EPP and that all SBEC approved residency route certificates have been added to your inventory. As discussed earlier, please monitor the newsletter for more ECOS-related updates regarding residency to follow in the coming months. And as always, report your data throughout the year. Waiting until candidates are ready to be recommended for an enhanced standard certificate could delay the certification process. Well, this concludes our training on the residency updates in ECOS. Please record your final questions in the chat. Give us a few days to get the recording of this presentation posted, as well as the FAQs. We'll notify you in the newsletter when the recording is posted. I hope you have a wonderful day and best wishes for an efficient and trouble-free TTRPR data reporting experience.